Welcome to the T.Rowe Price ACC Men's Basketball Tournament Preview presented by TurboTax here on the ACC Digital Network. Tom Wormy along with Wes Bryant. Before we get into the meat of our conversations about this year's tournament, let's reflect back on some of the amazing moments of the ACC basketball tournament over the years.
Try to get the little fella to cough it up to win it. Do you believe that? No, Stackhouse fell down. He said, come on, get up. I'm going to drill it.
And that's unguardable. Completely unguardable. Duke by one. 74-73.
Marshall, 2 seconds. 1 second. The game winner. Yes! Carolina wins!
3 seconds. Moore. Miller. And Miami wins it. O'Connell gets it off. And
And we're sure to see many more of those incredible moments at the ACC tournament in Charlotte, North Carolina for the 15th time, Wes. And it is such a special event, and everything that leads up to it, the prelude to the tournament. What an amazing regular season we've had, led by Duke, which has already secured the #1 seed at the tournament for the second straight year.
Yes, and this conference has gotten stronger. This was a league that had a reputation coming in that it had kind of not been what it was in the past, but now we've got multiple teams with 20-plus wins, multiple teams with quad 1 wins, led by the Duke Blue Devils, who have gotten some strong wins this year, including the then #1 Michigan Wolverines that they've knocked off. So I think that the ACC has definitely gone a long way this season in restoring its reputation, and it looks as strong as ever as we march into what should be a really good ACC tournament.
Yeah, you were referencing the teams that made the NCAA tournament. Just 4 last year. There are some projections this year. Could be 8 or 9. And remember, Duke went to the Final Four, and the year before that was the NC State run through the ACC tournament, and they went to the Final Four. So there's certainly been quality as far as the teams that have been selected, but this year it could be a lot more teams. And the headline of the season has to be freshman play in the ACC. And you go right to Cameron Boozer, an amazing talent. What a season he has had leading the Duke Blue Devils, and really at the end of the season, he's probably going to lead the league in scoring and rebounding.
Yeah, and coming into the year, there were a lot of freshmen that you looked at on paper and you were really excited about, and these guys have shown and they have proven. You've got 3 ACC freshmen in the top 10 in the country in scoring: Abuka Okori, Caleb Wilson, and then Cameron Boozer. And what can you say about him? Every game, especially when they played some of the bigger games on their schedule, they've talked about some of the roadblocks that he may face, like going back to the Michigan game, this front court with the 7-4, Damara, and with Yaxel Lundenberg. And then when they played against Virginia and Testa Ritter and those guys, and they were like, oh, he's going to have trouble. But he just finds a way to continually produce for this team. You look at the Virginia game, he only makes 3 field goals, but he gets to the line 12 times. Not to mention the rebounding, the assisting that he does. I mean, when you talk about #1 picks of the NBA draft, I'm just not sure why his name isn't being considered, because he does everything at a very high level.
And think about this, Duke for back-to-back seasons could have the National Player of the Year, Cooper Flagg a season ago, right? And Boozer this season, National Player of the Year in the ACC. And Boozer just does it all. You look at his shooting percentages, he's 40% from three-point distance, 4 assists per game, gets his teammates involved. And what I think he does the best is when the double team comes, he finds a teammate or he's able to just muscle his way to the rim and score points. I would also throw into the freshman mix, I'd like to hear what you have to say about this, Michael Brown from Louisville. 45 points in a single game. He broke the freshman record that Cooper Flagg set last year for Duke. He scored 42.
I mean, this is a kid, explosion should be his middle name. And when he went down, Louisville was a completely different basketball team, because we know Louisville, they like to get up the 3 ball. This kid, he likes to do that as well, but he's got that explosive element. He can beat you off of the bounce. And the thing is, he has 0 fear to his game. And so he's the fearless leader of the Louisville Cardinals. And I'm sure that they are so glad that they will have him on their side going into this tournament.
Another spectacular freshman in the mix out of North Carolina, Caleb Wilson. Now, he's been dealing with a hand injury, and North Carolina hopes to get him back soon, if not for the ACC tournament as well. But he has been an impact player, certainly on the inside. The combination of him and Henry Vesser for North Carolina on the front line has been fantastic. And also they had the big win against Duke when Seth Trimble hit the shot from the corner.
I am praying to the basketball gods to give us Caleb Wilson. for this tournament, because coming into the year, he makes the announcement on Inside the NBA, big platform. He comes in with a heavy reputation, and he does nothing but prove everybody right. He reminds me a lot of Shawn Kemp and Kevin Garnett. He is so exciting to watch. He was leading the nation in dunks before he went down with that injury. He's just an exciting play waiting to happen. So I absolutely hope he's able to rejoin his Tar Heels to see what they can do with him back in the mix.
Yeah, just one of the freshmen of the ACC this season who has provided these incredible moments for us to watch all season long.
And now here's Hanlon. Hanlon on the break, takes it strong, draws the foul, and he made it.
Here's Barnes with a long shot.
Williamson scores again, 13 for 13.
Kniffel threading inside, banks it in, he'll go to the line.
Marbury continues to pump life into the Jackets.
Snyder lost it. Tatum all the way.
You're watching the T.Rowe Price ACC Men's Basketball Tournament Preview Show, brought to you by Intuit TurboTax. Now this is Taxes.
Welcome back to the T.Rowe Price ACC Men's Basketball Tournament Preview, presented by TurboTax here on the ACC Digital Network. With Tom and Wes, and we're talking about the ACC Tournament, Charlotte, North Carolina, Spectrum Center for the fourth time. And when you look at the standings, there's one team at the top of the league that has played so well from top to bottom, really, in every statistical category. They are so solid under John Shire, and that's the Duke Blue Devils, the number one seed at our tournament, Wes.
Yeah, and the biggest hope is that these guys don't take the drama out of the tournament, because the thing is when you look at when they played against the teams at the top of the league, it's like we saw what they just did to Virginia. They beat them handily. They've beaten every team that's at the top of this conference except for the Tar Heels, convincingly. And so now that's the biggest intrigue, because you get the feeling of, is North Carolina with Caleb Wilson the only team that can compete with this bunch? Because Duke, I call them the machine pretty much, because that's what they play like. Cameron Boozer, we've heard all year, what does it look like if he's in a situation where he's not of service to them or of great service as he has been all year long? But all they do is find answers. Isaiah Evans, since he was benched at Pittsburgh, he's really been on a tear. Caleb Foster, he steps up when he needs to. Dame Sarr. So they find guys on this roster to make plays when they need to. But I think one of the biggest things that people overlook is their defense and their rebounding. Yeah. And that makes such a difference in these games. They take teams that are high scoring and they hold them to 10, 15, 20 points below their average. They beat you on the boards. That takes away possessions from you. So even if somehow their offense isn't necessarily sparked up like it normally is, defensively they can get some of those possessions back where those mistakes happen. And that's what makes this team so good, as that defense is something you can always rely on, and that's something that I think the Duke Blue Devils, they hang their hat on.
Yeah, they've been so dominant against ACC opposition. You go back to last season, too, they only lost one game, and they're the defending champs at our ACC tournament. All right, let's go to North Carolina. Started out 12-1 in non-conference play. They've got the win against Duke. There had been some questions around it. Vesser was out for a little while. Mm-hmm. You mentioned Wilson's been out also. Seth Trimble leading the way for the Tar Heels. They certainly could make a run in this tournament.
I think this is one of Hubert Davis's best coaching jobs. With what he's been able to do, I mean, because the Vesar injury came out of nowhere. And so you're out 40% of your scoring, 40+% of your rebounding with Wilson and Vesar. And so he's able to find a way, and I thought that this could end up, you don't necessarily want to say a blessing in disguise, but I figured it would help some other guys find their roles. And so when you look at Stevenson and what he's been able to do, Seth Trimble has really started to step up, and he's the key for me. If he can get in that 16 to 20 point range each night, then he really takes them to another level. But the fact that some of these guards and some of these other players, Zayden Hyde's another player that comes to mind, that have started to find roles that builds confidence for them. It's not about when Wilson comes back, can they continue to play at the level they're playing? It's, do they have the confidence that when they're called upon that they can do it? And so that's what I think makes Carolina dangerous, is the fact that these guys have started to find themselves a little bit with the absence of Caleb Wilson.
Duke and Carolina, historically, Duke has won this tournament 23 times, 2 of the last 3 years, and North Carolina has won it 18 times, but not since 2016. Let's go beyond those two teams and Virginia. And Ryan Odom, first-year head coach for the Cavaliers, has done an amazing job, Wes.
Yeah, he has. And he's come in, and they still keep the defense. They're still one of the best defensive teams in the country, but they're also scoring a lot. They're averaging over 80 points. I love when they showed Tony Bennett up in the press box squinting, looking at the scoreboard, because he's like, whoa, you know, we normally get this done in the 60s. So this team can score with Tess DeRitter and those guys, but defensively they're still the same. So this also makes them a team to watch as well.
Yeah, so they have wins against Miami, Notre Dame in double overtime. They won at Louisville as well. I just mentioned Miami. There's another first-year head coach in Jay Lucas. Incredible. They started the season 15-2.
Yeah, and when you look at this Miami team, they are the nation's leader when you talk about turnarounds from last year's wins to this year. They finished dead last in the ACC this year.
Didn't make the tournament last year, right?
Almost a 60% improvement in wins, and it's just the roster that he's put together with Donaldson and Shelton Henderson and Reno and Ernest Uday, and so they have a very well-built team, very athletic. They can shoot the basketball, but he's proven that he's a coach that's coming into this conference, and he's going to make some noise. He's my personal pick for Coach of the Year. He's done a fantastic job.
Wins at NC State, and they also won a home game against North Carolina. All right, the Clemson Tigers, what a start they had to conference play for Brad Brownell. They were 6-0 in conference play, hit a little bit of a skid, but they've responded recently.
Yeah, they have, and so they were able to get a big win versus Louisville, and that's the thing. What is this team going to be looking like coming into this tournament? Because like you said, they have had the highs of getting into the rankings and being a team people are looking at as potentially an ACC tournament and an NCAA tournament sleeper. So which way does this team go as they get into the tournament? But I think Brad Brownell, you know, he's proven that he's a guy that can get them through adversity, and I think that he's just the right man to be able to get them in the direction they want to go.
It's a veteran coach with a veteran team led by R.J. Godfrey on the inside for the Clemson Tigers. By the way, they won 13 of 14 games in the middle part of the schedule this season. All right, who's the team that we're not talking about that could make a run at the tournament? And we saw NC State do it 2 years ago. First team in major conference history at tournaments to win 5 games in a row and go all the way to the title and then subsequently make it to the Final Four.
I would look Wake Forest right now, you know, and that's the reason we call them Cinderella, right? Because all of these teams have some type of flaws. But Wake now has, you know, 4 out of 6, and this is a team with Juke Harris, and they've got some guys back. Miles Colvin has returned from injury, and this is a team when Wake Forest is hitting the 3 ball, they're as dangerous as pretty much any team in the league. But it just comes down to them. Are they making threes and are they playing defense? That's the difference. But Juke Harris, certainly one of the best guards in all of the nation and in the ACC.
I would also add to the mix Florida State with Robert Cray V. He's a dangerous scorer for the Seminoles, who started slow in conference play. 0-5, they've come on strong recently. And our preview show of the ACC tournament will continue in just a moment.
Into traffic, right hand block. Burns again, got Huntley Hatfield in the air. NC State will move on. Horn with the theft. Horn will dunk it. 21-4 run by NC State. Duke looking like they haven't played in about a month at this point. Burns wants the paint, swooping in. NC State wins it over Duke. And he missed it. 4 seconds. O'Connell gets it off. And the Wolfpacker headed to the championship game. Down. Taylor slips. Burns for 3. Oh boy! A remarkable, astounding week. And let the celebration begin in Raleigh.
Childress from way outside, nothing but net. He has 33 points. Oh, this is way outside. Oh, Randolph Childress!
That may be the knockout punch right there.
Childress shoots from outside. That's for 3. Childress. Do you believe that?
No, I don't.
Stackhouse fell down. He said, come on, get up. I'm going to drill it. Childress flashes up top.
Oh, my.
Drills it. 15 points already for Randolph Childress. Childress beyond the arc. Yes! Under 4 minutes to play. Carolina by 2. Childress. Yes! The defenders go down. Childress fires and hits it for 3. Childress banks it in.
33 now for Childress.
A minute and a half to play in the overtime period. Childress with the running one-hander, nothing but net. 10 seconds left. Back to Childress. It's his game
double
now.
team again.
Childress. Yes!
Childress has scored all 9 Wake Forest points in the overtime. And Randolph Childress with 37 points becomes the all-time leading scorer in one ACC tournament.
And what a performance by Randolph Childress in 1995. In that title game, overtime victory against North Carolina, 82-80, 37 points, and he made 9 3-pointers in that game. I mean, just one of the indelible moments of the ACC tournament.
Yeah, I mean, it's a memory that you will never forget, especially if you're a Wake Forest fan. And, you know, you just look through the history and the lineage of this tournament. I mean, you go to back in the days and the Bobby Hurleys and Grant Hills and, you know, North Carolina with, you know, Eric Montross and Stackhouse and all of those great players, Joe Smith, Stephon Marbury. I could go on and on and on about the players that, you know, really define what this tournament has become. And if you grow up in the South, especially in ACC territory, it's just a part of your DNA. And everybody loves to talk about the teacher rolling in the TV for you to be able to watch it at the end of the day, or it's just exciting that you have something to watch, you know, during the weekend. You go home on Friday after work, you put the ACC tournament on. It's nothing like it.
So not surprisingly, Randolph was the MVP of that tournament. Did you know, though, he scored all 9 points for Wake Forest in the overtime victory, 82-80, against North Carolina. They beat Duke, Virginia, and then North Carolina in the title game. And Wes, another performance just happened last year with Con Knippel as the MVP for Duke. They beat, in that title game, they beat Louisville, and Knippel was the MVP, and now he plays professionally in that same arena.
Yes, and this was a precursor for what he's doing in the NBA, because Cooper Flag goes down in that first game. Everybody thinks, oh no, and then he comes out and scores 28 versus Georgia Tech on his way to an MVP performance. You talk about a guy stepping up when his number is called. Con Knippel was absolutely sensational last year in helping Duke get that championship.
So of the teams and the players that we're going to see in Charlotte, who can replicate and duplicate that Randolph Childress type run at the ACC tournament this year?
Well, I mean, it's low-hanging fruit, Tom, but you look at Cameron Boozer and what he's able to do. He's the number one guy. He's the guy coming into this tournament. You know Duke is going to feed him the basketball, and in those clutch moments, he's a guy that they're going to go to. But I think also you look at Michael Brown. This was a guy that dropped 45 this year. So I think he may be, if Louisville's able to make a nice run here, this is a guy you look to that he's explosive. He could definitely get on a heater and take his team. You know, there are so many players to pick from. Malik Reneau from Miami's another player.
Right.
And then when we talked about the Cinderella guys, how far can Wake Forest go? Because Duke Harris is a guy that's over 20 points per game too, and he's had some 30-point games during the season. He's another guy that could give that type of production at a moment's notice.
You know, you mentioned Wake, and that takes us to the topic of what teams can help themselves. And you can start right at the top with the number 1 seed, because Duke certainly wants that overall number 1 seed. But then there's North Carolina maybe looking for a top 4 seed as well, and some teams that can play their way into the NCAA tournament. And as we mentioned before, projected 8, perhaps 9 teams out of the ACC in the Big Dance.
There are so many teams with that carrot dangling in front of them. You talked about Duke and trying to lock up the number 1 overall seed. How much more can some of the teams at the top improve their standings, the Miamis of the world? But then you go down and you look at some of the bubble teams, SMU, California, Virginia Tech. These are teams that with a few wins in this tournament can also help their case to get into the NCAA tournament and maybe get a little bit higher seed. So that's what makes this such a variety of storylines as we enter into this tournament, because everybody's got something to play for and everybody's going to be taking this with the utmost of seriousness.
It is the oldest conference tournament in the nation. It has the deepest and richest history as well, and all of the coaches who will be in Charlotte for this 73rd annual ACC basketball tournament know what's at stake when you get to the Queen City.
When you say college basketball postseason conference tournament, you probably, ACC is going to be the first thing that pops in your head.
Everybody converges into one location, and it's a celebration of basketball.
And it's just a lot of excitement. You can feel when you walk out of the hotel the excitement in the city.
When you get great teams together, you're going to have high-level basketball.
Great players, great teams, and the success translates to the NCAA tournament.
Teams have played really well in the ACC tournament, and that's led them to excellence in the NCAA tournament, which we all desire.
Welcome back to the T.Rowe Price ACC Men's Basketball Tournament Preview presented by TurboTax. Tom and Wes, and when you look across the landscape of college basketball, at the very top of the mountain is the ACC basketball tournament.
And there are a lot of conference tournaments that mean a lot to a lot of places in the country, but I would dare to say the ACC tournament is the nation's tournament because we know what the Duke-North Carolina rivalry means, but also all of the great players that have come before, all of the great coaches that have come before, Coach K, Dean Smith, the list goes on. And so when you mix all of that together, you get a fantastic tournament that's rich in competition, drama. Then you get your outliers, the NC State's winning the tournament, Miami's, Notre Dame. So all of that makes this a tournament that is just unpredictable, but at the end of the day, it is just greatness. And so everybody gets excited for this one. This year should be no different.
What about the potential symmetry for the Boozer family? Carlos Boozer, the MVP in Charlotte in 2002, and Cameron Boozer might have that trophy. He might have this trophy as well.
I mean, he's going to have so much hardware by season's end. He's the overwhelming favorite to win the Nation's Player of the Year, overwhelming favorite to win the ACC Player of the Year. So why not? If Duke can get the job done in this tournament, who else would win it besides him?
All right, prediction time. And the way you've been talking, I have a feeling I know which way you're going as far as who's going to hoist this trophy at the end of the tournament.
This Duke basketball team, just defensively, what they bring to the table. Also, Cameron Boozer, the nation's best player, his supporting cast that steps up at a moment's notice. And so I think that North Carolina is a team that if they can get Caleb Wilson back, this is a team that has a shot at them because I think that he could go at Boozer, perhaps get him in foul trouble if they should somewhere meet in this tournament. But other than that, I just think Duke is too strong. They're too battle-tested. They beat the #1 team in the country not too long ago. They've played just so much was made of their early season schedule and how many ranked teams that they've played and defeated. And so it's just hard to think a team like this, they're a machine. And so they always understand the task ahead, and I think they understand it here, and I think they get it done.
So many teams, though, with a chance to win this tournament. We talked about North Carolina, Virginia, Clemson, Miami, Louisville made the title game last year. NC State, you never know. They've been a little bit up and down as well, and they made that run 2 years ago under Kevin Keatts, obviously with some different personnel. Anyway, it is going to be a fantastic, exciting ACC basketball tournament, the 73rd edition of the tournament in Charlotte, North Carolina. We thank you so much for watching our show, and as we leave you, we give you some of the amazing moments from the ACC tournament contested over the years in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Rebound on Parr.